It doesn't matter how smart you are. If you don't sound confident, you'll be ignored. We need to talk about how you can sound confident every time you speak, even if you don't quite feel like it. As a creator, author, speaker, and business coach, I've been in many rooms, and it's funny how sometimes the quietest voice is the voice that's the most respected. It's not about volume, it's about how they presented what they speak about. And on the flip side, I've seen some really brilliant people dismissed because they mumbled their way through their genius. The difference comes down to a handful of subtle shifts that you need to master. First, speak with decisions, not disclaimers. You know what I'm talking about. You have this tendency to start every sentence with, I think, or I feel. It makes sense to you because you want to present a new idea, but you don't want to be so bold as for it to just be your idea. So you feel like you need to qualify it. And that's exactly what you're doing. Your disclaimers are trying to qualify you. That's you explaining your way to the table. But what if you just agreed you're already at the table? So first, identify what those disclaimer crutches are. Is it I think or I feel? Do you have a tendency to say things like, you know what, I gotta be honest right now? Why do people say that? Are you being honest? Or have you been lying all this time? And I make that joke. I am sure I say that a lot. I think and I feel. I'm a capital offender of those. Every once in a while, I probably do throw in, listen, I gotta be honest. Because in all actuality, I'm just trying to collect my thoughts and I'm stalling by filling the space. That's what we're doing. We're trying to qualify our ways to the table by making it seem like we've given this more thought, by saying, you know, I've given this a whole lot of thought, and therefore, we didn't need that. So try to find what those crutches are, and then look for new phrases to replace them with. We want decisive language. The best path forward is, here is what will work. I know that sounds crazy. How am I to be the one who says this is the best path? Or I know what will work? I'm pretty sure you're smart. And I bet if everybody took your exact advice, step by step by step by step by step, you could be right. The reality is, there's another one I like to say. The reality is, I say that a lot to qualify myself. You're making that proclamation doesn't mean that you're more likely to be wrong. It means you have an opinion, and people actually respect that. And it's very unlikely that all conditions will be perfect and whatever you suggested is going to happen anyway. I find it funny because when I'm the most bold, when I say exactly what I want to be the case or exactly what I think will be the case, I do notice I'm wrong a lot. And I go, I should start being wrong about more things that I don't want to happen. The point is for you to just practice saying things as if you already know it to be true. You do not need to over-qualify yourself, and you do not need to fill time and space with words. That's what we're doing when we have these disclaimers and over-explanations. It's unnecessary, people take you less seriously, and you probably are losing them in the conversation because they got bored with all the flowery language. Why be flowery when you can be direct? This does not mean you don't have empathy. This does not mean that in certain situations you know how to contain a message in the right way. But if you're just trying to speak confidently in a conversation, know the difference. Certainty is contagious. So if you want people to buy in, you have to be the one who catches it first. Next, you need to control the pace so that you can command the room. I'm a capital offender at sounding rushed. If you sound rushed, people are going to assume that you're not worth their time. This is something I have to work on. You probably noticed this on this channel. I have been rushing through my life so much, I even rush through my content. We do a lot of jump cutting here. We speed the process along. Some of that has to do with the fact that I want to make sure you receive everything that we're saying because we have some good stuff here. But actually, when you're in conversation, or if you're on stage speaking at an event, you would be best served to pace things accordingly. If something's very important, if you have a very important point to make, stop, slow down, lock eyes. Deliver that point. Make sure it's been received. You see what I did there? We paced it down there so that you got that part. So that if you were in the hustle and bustle of the rest of this conversation, it's okay. You caught that. That's powerful. That's powerful. That's a moment that you're looking at someone and saying, I am so sure of what I'm saying right now. Even if I'm wrong, we'll remember this forever. Isn't that crazy? It's so crazy. But the way you pace yourself and the way you control time has a lot to do with how you're received. If you say, I'm like a fire hose, I'm like a college professor, I over-deliver, I'm really fast and furious, I hope you catch it. That's exactly what's going to happen with them. If you say, I deliver this in exactly the right pace, you are going to get everything that you need at the right moment in time, and you'll know exactly what to do with it. That's exactly what they'll receive. The more you understand that you actually control that, and if you can put your head in the game, that they'll have their head in the same game, you will have paced yourself accordingly. Pay more attention to that. You probably notice your ability to do that when you're telling a story, and you can think of a moment where you're like, this is the best part, and you want somebody to receive it. You can do that with everything else too. Everything else that you teach, everything else that you do to have a nice conversation with somebody, even if it has nothing to do with what you're saying and everything to do with them feeling heard. Confidence isn't loud, it's measured. This next one's inspired by my best friend. She is who I will consider the best at this. Sarah, shout out to you. You need to master the question game. If you want to be the most interesting person in the room, be the most curious. Be the most interested. Asking people questions is an amazing way to do that. The really genuinely curious people ask questions that they know the direction they're taking someone, but they're also going to do something with each response. If you ask questions like, what do you do? Or where do you live? Or where are you from? The casual small talk questions that we've all been trained to ask, you're already on autopilot, probably not even listening to the response. But when you've mastered the question game, you ask questions that make sense based on what the previous one was because you used something with the information you learned. And when you use something with the information you learn more about a person. And that makes you curious about the person. It makes you build a relationship with them. They feel that. Every time you ask a question that takes them deeper into thought about how they would like to respond, especially depending on what the level of relationship is that they have with you, you achieve a lot in building. And all you did was ask somebody about themselves. That's recognizing real power in a confident conversation. By the way, this is a great pro tip for all introverts who don't like to talk about themselves. I love this one when I'm feeling very in my head. I'm like, okay, just ask them about them, Amy. Get out of your head and get into theirs. You need to listen like it matters. Sometimes it feels like we're just trying to add people to our Rolodex or just make sure that we check the boxes. But when you look at every single person as a potential opportunity to make your life a little bit better, to adding a tool to your toolbox, then you'll be much more likely to show up in a way that says, how can I serve you? It might be really simple. They could just be your new next door neighbor who needs a little bit of help lifting groceries. Maybe there's no clear way that relationship is going to do much for you, but I bet they're going to be paying attention like neighborhood watch to make sure you're okay. You just never know. So listen to what's going on with somebody so you're more aware, and then figure out what it means for you. You might learn something about someone else that makes you better in a completely different area of your life. They inspired you, and that was the role that they played. Questions are like the steering wheel of a conversation. Grab it. Next, we need to eliminate verbal clutter. Something that content creators and public speakers learn really quickly is how often we say, It's a lot. But the more that you create something that goes out into the world, the more you reflect on how often you use filler words, things that just take up space. So it seems like you haven't completely disconnected. I gotta tell you what, my favorite podcast moments when I listen to a podcast are when a guest does not say a single word after a question has been posed to them because they're thinking. And the podcaster doesn't edit out that space. It's fascinating. Sometimes you look at your phone or whatever device it is and you go, is it buffering? No, it's not buffering. The guest is just thinking. And they're confident enough to think. about the answer that they want to give. You can have that confidence too. Instead of somebody saying, what do you think about that? Well, I'm not, I haven't, that's so interesting you ask. No one's ever asked me that. That's a good question. That's a great question. Well, the worst part of that is the mouth noises that I made. That was something I edited out like the plague when I used to edit my videos in the early days. I would hear the mouth clicking that I was the worst. The more you say that's unnecessary, the less there is to hear, to truly absorb. So you can get used to not saying those words more, the more you have better conversation. So making videos for the internet is a great way to practice. It feels like nobody's listening. It feels like there's no skin in the game. It feels like you're not boring anyone. You're just practicing, speaking. This is how I became a public speaker on stages, by speaking to a camera. And you know what? People who watch my videos and say, I want to hire her, are usually thinking, well, she seems like a pretty good speaker. I guarantee you that 50% of that decision is not even how smart I am. It's because I don't say, Like the bar is low. If you notice that you use that word, or some other kind of filler space sound, just edit yourself in real time. Just stop. Also, we don't need an over-explanation. Oh God, I hate saying I say all the time. No one needs that either. That's not confident. Just take a break from speaking when you need coached up internally or externally on better speaking. You'll notice that if someone never seems to understand you, or lots of people never seem to understand your true intention, that it's probably because you've had a lot of this extra verbal sound or flowery language that has been muddying everything up. Recently, someone told me I've become very, very direct in recent years. And they actually usually deliver that little anecdote as a form of criticism. And I don't take it as that. I take it as I'm getting better and people are getting left behind. So if it feels funny to you to get straight to the point, just give it some more practice. I promise you're gonna sound much more confident. Finally, you can't just change your voice. A lot of communication comes through the body. People don't need you to say, I'm listening, or I gotta tell you something. You can usually let them know that with your body. Listening is very simple. It's not talking and looking at someone, not a million other distractions, and staying with them so that they can share that with you. This takes a lot of work. I gotta tell you, I'm not perfect at this. I wouldn't even grade myself very high on the listener scale. I love talking about being a good listener because I'm constantly coaching myself up. Constantly. I'm working on it, okay? It's taken 40 years to get to here. I'm hoping we still are doing okay over the next 40 years. The same goes for how you talk. If you're not gonna say something very important, then it's okay to be like, whatever. I'm not really sure how I feel about this, but it's, I was thinking about it and that might be something I try. It could be cool. Not very confident. I don't care if you smile. I don't care if you put your shoulders back. I don't care what you actually do. But what I do hope is that if you have something to say, you don't have to say it twice. And I think that one of the ways that you deliver solidly in what you say is with a confident body and a very dialed in tone. I don't want you to miss what I'm saying. I don't want to repeat myself. I am not going to stutter. I'm going to say it. You're either going to understand it or not, but my body is going to support it. I'm going to speak from my chest, and hopefully you will get it with the same intent that I deliver it in. If my intent and the message don't match, then sure, we've got to rectify that. But if I'm going to be confident in what I have to say, how I present myself physically, needs to be aligned. Probably one of the best pieces of feedback that I get from these videos is that people feel like they're sitting down with me. That has a lot to do with one of the most important parts of your body interaction and conversation, and that's eye contact. I look at the lens of the camera like it's a person. So if you were here in person and we were having this conversation one-on-one, I would be looking you in the eyes too. Now that means every once in a while I look away, I collect my thoughts a bit, and I come back and I keep talking to you because that's how I would talk in person. We do not talk like this in person, okay? That would be weird. We wouldn't have a lot of conversations after this if I was looking like this all the time. It's a much more casual relationship, but the intent of the eye contact is there. If you do nothing else with your body to practice, just look at someone when you're talking to them. It's the number one thing I tell my daughter. What do we say? She gave you a lollipop. Thank you. No. Bianca knows now. What do we do when we say thank you to someone? And guess what she does? She turns right around, she looks him in the eye, and she says, thank you. It hits different. I'm sorry, but the person at UPS who gave you that lollipop deserves your eye contact. It doesn't matter if it was that big a deal to them or not. Be so bold as to assume that if someone's having a conversation with you, whether you started it or not, they want to be in it with you. If they want to be in it with you, then you can present your best self confidently. From your body, to your mind, to your eyes, and the words that come. That's how you sound confident every time you speak. If you want to know the 30 mantras I wish I could go back and tell myself when I turned 30, watch this video and I'll see you there.